Living where I do, the coastline can lack a bit of inspiration, so I thought I'd explore something different and seek somewhere rugged. Good morning and welcome to the first of a two-parter. The first part is going to be having a look at the north coast of Spain and exploring some wonderful areas. And the second part is going to be going into the Playas Gueirua National Park from both sides, from the north side and from the south side, and seeing what we can photograph and capture there. But actually this is also about enjoying the scenery, sometimes with, sometimes without a camera as well. I'm starting off today at Gazteluagatxe. And yes, it did take me quite a long time to learn how to say that. It is a promontory into the sea with a little church on the top. The church is San Juan de Gazteluagatxe. Yes, I've done it. And I've just seen my first glance at it and it's quite spectacular. I'm going to turn you around so you can share it with me. This is one of the first views that you get. Quite nice, isn't it? I was hoping to shoot this last night for sunset from down the bottom, the classic Game of Thrones view, I am told, and it started to rain quite a bit, so I prioritised, I'm afraid, a nice beer and some good food in the lovely town nearby. But I'll swing you around, get you blinded by the morning sun. This is sort of why I wanted to explore the Spanish coast, because you get some crackingly lovely elements like this. This is what they refer to as the classical view of Gazteluagatxe, and I'm going to try some various focal lengths and various exposure lengths just to see what turns out okay. The sun is popping in and out behind the clouds, so that varies quite a lot at the moment. What we're then going to do is to head right the way down to the bottom near that wall and see if we can get one of those classic compositions that you see everywhere. I'm afraid it is one of those ones that I've just got to get, and then once it's out my system I'll see if I can get anything a little bit more original. It's quite windy, but this is what I wanted to show you. This is the classic shot. Of course, my husband has just nicked the space, Git. This is sort of the classic shot area that you're looking at. The light isn't going to be amazing. I suspect I might have to transfer this into a black and white. And I just hope I've got a lens that's wide enough. If not, I'll have to improvise. Hello, and welcome to Amateur Hour. I am a fool, but never fear, I do have a solution. Welcome to Liencres. I'm currently at Arnia, which is one of the small beaches. In fact, let's be more specific. Just around the corner of that immediate headland is Arnia Beach. And these are the rocks, one of those famous shots that are taken. In theory, I was going to have a sunrise directly over there. But yeah, it didn't happen. We're going to be in for some pretty stormy weather in the next few days, which makes me happy for coastal photography. Anyway, so this is my first location this morning. I'm going to go directly behind me to something called Los Uros, but they have another name, official name, but locally or colloquially, they're called Los Uros. One of the things I'm quite surprised about here is the effectiveness of a polarizer. Genuinely wasn't expecting in these conditions for it to have such an impact. With the polarizer I can see those striations underwater going right out into the distance. Without, well, it's just a pretty shot with some lovely blue water. That's quite a difference. If I can, I will show you both those shots shortly. To confess that I found this place and the one you're about to see so inspiring that 2 weeks later, on the way back to the UK, I engineered an opportunity to revisit. Some of the stormy shots that you'll see later were taken on that second occasion. All others were taken on this morning. So this is my Lex location I'm going to shoot. I referred to these earlier as Los Euros, but actually they are Manzano. The Euros are the ones that I shot beforehand, those ones with the long striation. Now what I'm looking to do, I think, is to get a shot with some of this vegetation in the foreground, and maybe an isolating shot later on. I've got a shorter exposure here with a nice foreground, but what I want to do is try and capture a longer exposure, just to see if I can get some perhaps movement in the waves or even flatten it out completely. But for that I need a foreground that is a lot more still than flowers that are waving in the wind. So now my search for the next foreground. So here is the shot I'm taking. Again, I'm stacking 3 shots together, but this is what I want to show you. It's a little sketchy here, and if I just swing you round, you'll get to see the rocks over here. I'm just going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 mini steps, and that's what I've got the other side. Whew. Have to remember not to step back. Right, after 36 hours pretty solid and heavy rain in the Playas Gueirua National Park, we are coming back to the coast. So happily for me, it's quite a balanced day. I'm not going to have to fight any contrast, which might give me a little bit more scope in what I'm quite excited about this. Sorry, mustn't look. Might just give me a little bit more scope in what I can do. I've come here at the high tide. The other destinations I want to go to along this stretch of the coast, we're still just about in Asturias, they all need a mid to low tide. I say mid because you want to make sure that the tourists don't get in the shot. After all, this is August, and low tide, obviously if it's receding, you're going to be a lot more safe than if it's coming in, and it does look a bit treacherous on occasions. I'm stopping because I will be on my bottom in about 2 minutes. Okay, lots of steps, and I have a man with sciatica, so he's not a happy chappy, but look at that. One happy girl. Not looking forward to coming back up these steps though. Right, stop moaning, get on with it. Okay, what I have in front of me is this delightful promontory which has been eroded away through time. I will put the name of it on the screen, forgive me, I got so excited I left the name up in the car. But in the front down here, we've got some striated rock heading outwards. Unfortunately, this area here is heading towards that big old boulder just there. That's not what I want. What I'd like to do is to be able to get it so that I'm looking at these beautiful pinnacles here. So, a little bit later on, I'm going to clamber down, clamber down here, because I reckon my welcome theory of everything, under there is going to be some similar rocks, she says. If not, we'll improvise, but at the moment I'm just trying to get those glorious spiky rocks, and I am trying to go for a long exposure because I'm here early enough to have a bit of a play and to also try and get a few compositions in the bag. Went out, so the waves lost their power. So we decided to travel along the coast to our next destination, Playa de Portizuelo, but it wasn't shootable. there'd been rockfalls. I also realised how many of the shots online were really heavily manipulated. Gotta say, it was quite disappointing, to be honest. What I'm waiting for is to be able to clamber over those rocks in the foreground, the ones that you've just seen get completely covered, so that I can then try and get some interesting foregrounds that don't have this beast in front of it. At the moment I'm varying from f11 to f16, depending, aiming for a quarter, my goodness, a quarter of a second to a third of a second, just so I can get some lovely wave action. Okay, I am shaking a bit because this is such fun. God, I hope you can hear me. But it's also really quite precarious. I've been caught by 2 or 3 waves up to my thighs. Luckily I've got my kit on my back, but yeah, this is fun. But you don't turn your back on any of these waves. I've discovered a little gap that I can exploit and explore, which should get me, God, you can see why you would not want to do this at high tide, or in fact any higher than this. This will get me towards my destiny. Chaotic foreground a little bit, but look at those waves. I am going to have to make this work somehow. Ideally, I want to be able to look through the eyes of the mask, but right now that's not a hope. So I'm just going to see what I can do with the mask and a few waves. Well, you've probably worked out that this place, as well as Liencres, stole my photographic heart, mainly because of their impressiveness and their ruggedness. Following my time here, we spent some time in the Playas Gueirua National Park before slowly wending our way back towards the coast on our way home. A wildcard location on a frankly blimmin' awful day, weather-wise, was Castro de los Gaviotas. It afforded me one of my favourite images of my time in Spain. I shall call this shot 2 brollies, shorts and a very big grin. Thank you for joining me again. Next time I'm going to be in the Playas Gueirua National Park, which I have to say is probably more difficult to photograph than beaches for me, partly because of the enormity of those wonderful mountain peaks that surround you. Yeah, not easy. I think I should also say, if you've seen value in what you've seen today, it'd be fabulous if you were able to give me a like or a subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.